If you have an interest in horses and love learning more about horses, the horse industry, teaching, or even managing your own horse business, then you're in the right place. We would love you to join us on our mission, which is to improve the lives of horses around the world through the education of riders, handlers, and trainers. So get comfortable, listen in, and enjoy.
Today's chat is sponsored by Online Horse College. Online Horse College has got courses for the international equine industry from complete beginners through to qualified professionals. If you'd like to get qualifications in instructors, just working in the horse industry, if you've got your own horse business, if you're new to horses, or even if you're doing trail riding or breeding, go and have a look at Online Horse College. It's onlinehorsecollege.com. Now, today's guest is Erin Flanagan. Erin is the operations manager for a busy riding school, Crystal Cascades Horse Park. Now, the difference here is she's in the tropics, so she's not just got to look after her 20 school horses who are doing about 60 lessons a week. It's busy anyway, and travelling to competitions and, all of those extra horse management problems. But she's teaching in the rain, in the heat, in the humidity, and I'm sure that there's going to be some horse management lessons that we're going to be learning from her. So if anyone's getting ready to travel or already living in the tropics, I think this particular chat's going to be invaluable for you. Anyway, Erin, how are you today?
I'm great, thank you, Glenys. How are you?
Yeah, really good, Erin. Now, Erin, just tell us, and I probably should have warned you before, I'm just throwing you in the dark, a favourite saying. I think you've got a favourite quote, haven't you? Something that inspires you or something that you teach people all the time.
Yeah, I guess one of my favourite sayings, I work up here with a lot of different types of horses and a lot of different types of riders, beginners and people that have never ridden before and people that are very experienced, and same goes for horses. The thing that kind of keeps me on the right path is, I'm not sure who said it originally, but the saying is, if your horse says no, you've either asked the wrong question or asked the question wrong.
Yes.
And I guess that's, really important for me because I like to make sure that my horse always has an opinion and that I'm trying to listen to his opinion all the time.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. It may have been a Pirelli saying, but it's also been attributed to a couple of other people. But certainly one that all horse people, no matter what discipline they're in or what area they're in, it's just something, and it's to do with communication and listening, and it's not just about talking, it's about listening as well.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Now, Erin, I know that your mum's got Crystal Cascades Horse Park. You've probably been there all your life. Is that right? Is that how you started?
It's actually not. So I was quite, a late bloomer with horses. So I didn't have horses until I was 13. I was one of those kids that begged my parents for years and years and years and years and years. And Mum had ridden in Pony Club when she was a child. We didn't get our first horse till I was 13, and actually shared that horse with my mum and my sister at the time. So there were three of us riding the one horse, which I wasn't super impressed about because I thought the horse would be mine.
Yes, because you did all the begging.
Exactly right. I started off, I was quite a nervous rider to start with. I wasn't into the Pony Club scene because I started riding quite late. And the PCAQ rules were kind of based on age rather than ability. And I was a bit worried to jump. I wasn't a jumper and my mare wasn't a jumper, and so I didn't really do Pony Club. So I actually got into Western Pleasure to start with and did some local shows up here at the Top End Western Club. And I always got the comments, your horse is too forward for Western, and then I would take her to an English show and they would say, you should put her in Western classes because she's too slow for dressage.
That's funny.
So that was quite frustrating.
I'm thinking about your confidence, and you said you're a bit worried. Do you think there was one time that you all of a sudden thought, I'm a lot more confident? Do you think it was just a build-up of just continual hours and hours and hours of riding, or was it a particular incident that all of a sudden you were more confident?
Look, I personally don't feel that I'm a very confident rider. I've done a lot with my riding. I've trained a thoroughbred to pre-St. George dressage, but I don't I don't take myself as a confident rider. I'm not one to throw myself over jumps or, go out trail riding very often because I'm a bit of a worrier.
Yeah.
But I guess with me and with a lot of my philosophies for teaching as well is basically if I can understand why I need to do something or how the horse needs to achieve that, it gives me a better understanding of what I'm asking the horse to do and understanding that I am trying to help myself or help the horse to do things better. So that gives me confidence, understanding why I need to do something, not necessarily that I'm a very confident rider.
Okay. Now, what about, because you're operations manager now and it is a busy riding school, did you always plan to work with horses? Was that just inevitable because you've got a property, or was there steps towards that? What happened?
Yeah, I guess I didn't really plan to work with horses. I was actually really good at school. So I got an OP1 at school when I finished year 12. So there was a lot of pressure on me to go to university and become a doctor or a lawyer or something. And I really had no idea what I wanted to do at the end of school. I had absolutely no idea, and my university preferences kind of reflected that. So I applied for law and engineering and psychology and all sorts of different things. I did actually get into law, and I did about 6 months of law, and that found out that wasn't for me. And then I did a double degree in maths and chemistry with the view of becoming a maths teacher, doing a dip ed after that. So I guess in a way, I am a teacher. It's just not maths and chemistry. So what ended up happening is I finished 18 months in council doing the maths and chemistry degree and didn't really like it. And Mum and Dad had this idea to purchase a property, and my little sister had been born the year before, and they thought it was inevitable that we'd at least have horses forever. So we purchased 100 acres out in Red Lynch, which is about 15 minutes from the Cairns CBD, and we've built an agistment property and a riding centre, and we've been operating that. This is our 12th year now. So
Wow. Oh, that's good. Now, if you're employing people, just think if you put an ad in the paper, but what sort of character traits, what sort of core skills? You can say, I want someone who's qualified, or I want someone who's got experience, but when it all boils down, what type of person are you looking for? What sort of things should they be doing? What would make it that someone has a job and someone hasn't?
That's actually an excellent question. We had two positions open up in the last 3 months because our current girls, our junior stable hand and our stable hand, are actually leaving to do their veterinary nursing qualifications. So we have actually been looking for new staff. And the thing that we prioritise, even more than horse experience, because we're not in a very horsey part of Australia, the thing that we prioritise is good observation skills and a hard-working attitude. Basically, we need people to be able to cope with working in the heat and working in the sun and walking and tacking up and lifting and working long hours, and basically loving it. It can be a hard job to love, but if you're really dedicated and it's something that you want to do, it's really rewarding. But so observation skills are really important. Obviously, working with horses, making sure they're healthy and everything's got shoes on and nobody's got any kicks or bites or scratches. And just a hard-working attitude is what we really prioritise.
Okay, because, and I think you're right, I think that for people who work with horses, sometimes, they've got this dream that I'm just going to go and work with horses and I just get to brush horses all day and I get on a perfectly schooled horse and go out for a wonderful ride. And then when they get a job, they go, oh, no, this is not for me. But other people just go, yes, this is exactly what I've wanted my whole life. I get to do everything. And I think, working with horses can make or break the dream.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely right. I think that's for any industry though. If you find what you love to do, it's not hard work, even though it is hard work.
yeah, that's right. And the you talk about extra professional development, extra knowledge and everything, but if you're wanting to do it, it's not work. It's not like, oh, I've got to go do this course. It's, wow, I get to do this course. I get to do it because I really want to learn more and I really want to do it well.
That's exactly right, yep.
Yep. Okay, now thinking about your lessons, and I want to think about how your riding school would be different to others in other parts of the world. We have, people who might have a riding school in the Scandinavian countries. It might be snowing most of the year and they get a little bit of non-snow weather, but you're in the heat in the tropics. Do you have different times during the day that you say, look, it's just too hot to ride? Do you ride early morning, late afternoon? How do you do it? How do you manage it that's a little bit different to anyone else?
Yep. Yeah, so basically we run lessons 3 days a week. So we have our 60 students in over that 3 days, which is a pretty hard slog. We're pretty full on. But having said that, we run during the winter time. We run from 12 p.m. till 8 p.m. It's a little bit cooler in the middle of the day. During the summer, we're really quite careful with the horse's health. So what we do is we have a hot weather policy that we introduce from about October till April. And so what happens is we keep an eye on the predicted temperature for the week and the humidity. So the humidity for us is a killer up here.
Mm-hmm.
So actually just this morning I had to cancel our lessons at 12 p.m. and 1 p.m. Because I got to work and it was 9 o'clock in the morning and it was about 98% humidity. And so our arena, the thermometer we have in the arena was showing a wet bulb temperature of 35 degrees at 9 a.m.
Wow.
So, yeah, really, really quite sticky situation. And all of the horses, you see them in the paddock and they're a little bit sweaty and they're just breathing a little bit hard. So, when we look at them and we think, okay, they're working hard to stay cool just standing, we don't really want to work them at that point in time and add to their stress. So, yeah, I guess like I was saying, they only work 3 days a week. So they've got plenty of time off. But the days that they do work, if it's going to be over that wet bulb temperature of 35 degrees, we tend to cancel our lessons or reschedule our lessons to either later in the day. So we'll move things back starting at like 4 or 5 p.m. and going till about 8:30 at night.
Yep.
Or we will reschedule for the school holidays or a little bit later in our term. So that way we can just keep our horses safe and keep our clients safe, because a lot of kids as well and adults, they do a lot of office work and they're used to being, quite sedentary in their lifestyle. So I don't need people getting heat stroke on my horses just for having a bit of fun. So
and for those people who are listening in different parts of the world, you talk about 35 degrees. It's not Fahrenheit she's talking about. It's Celsius. So it's a little bit warmer than 35 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Okay. Now, what about the care of the horses? I mean, electrolytes, different feeding. What sort of feeding do you do?
Okay, so all of our horses are just on a basic salt supplement.
Mm-hmm.
What we tend to do is when it is hot weather, so when we're looking at those 35-degree days or over, even when the humidity is quite high, like 95%, we will tend to feed earlier in the morning, so it's not as hot for them, not as stressful. The other thing that we really like to do, and this is something that I learned from my stable manager, because she actually competed endurance horses for a very, very long time.
Yep.
So she's excellent at maintaining body temperature and respiration rate and heart rate. She's very, very good at it, and she's been an absolute godsend for me to have working here for the last 4 years.
Okay.
We actually give ice baths. So if it's going to be quite hot and we see the horses are struggling, Sophie and I will spend our day in the paddock with eskies full of ice water, wiping the horses down with ice water and scraping them off, and wiping them down and scraping them off, and wiping them down and scraping them off, just trying to bring that core temperature down and get them quite comfy.
Yeah, and I think that that scraping off's so important, isn't it? Because otherwise, no good hosing your horse and just leaving the water on it, because the water itself becomes quite hot, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Now, what about competitions? If you go out, because you're a competitor anyway, and you go out to local competitions, what sort of variations do they have? Do they only have the competition season, from, say, April to October, or are they more evening, like twilight shows? How does that work?
Well, we're quite limited. I mean, the dressage scene, I guess, is getting a little bit better in North Queensland. But basically, our local dressage club, Far North Equestrian Group, is based in Redlynch, and then we have our Mariba Club, ATDDEA, and then our next closest two clubs to us are in Townsville, so approximately 400 kilometres away.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically with the local clubs, we tend to run competitions from May to about September. They do usually schedule training days for March and April and October, but often by that time it's already a little bit too hot, or usually in April we're getting torrential rain still, so oftentimes the grounds are rained out. So usually we look at May to September really for our competition time frame for training. So we are quite limited in what we can do. So especially if we're trying to qualify to go down south, we have to hit a bit of a hard slog to get our qualifiers to be able to compete down south.
Okay. Now tell us about a horse who's maybe influenced you, helped you in your career. Have you got one horse that stands out a bit more than the others?
Definitely. So my thoroughbred, who was my first foray into off-the-track thoroughbreds. I've had a few since. I've still got him. I've had him for 12 years now as well. He was originally supposed to be one of our school horses, but he ended up not being very quiet. So I ended up with him. So he's a 15-3 chestnut thoroughbred with full white socks and a big white blaze. So he's very blingy, very handsome. But boy, can he buck. And I have fallen off him more times than I can count. So we've had a hard slog. It's taken me, 12 years. I finally feel like I'm starting to understand him. And we have managed to make it to Prix St. George with our dressage, which is always interesting when you don't know whether your extended canter is going to be a proper extended canter or a line of bucks and tempi changes, but we did it. We had our second start at Prix St. George in May last year. Unfortunately, he had a paddock accident after that, and he tore a ligament, so he's been lame since. But we are rehabilitating him. But I guess the biggest thing he taught me was to be patient and tactful. He was never a horse that you could get cranky with, because he was always better at being cranky. You had to ride him quite tactfully. He really taught me. Took me a long time to develop the patience I needed to ride him, but he definitely instilled that in me, that sometimes it's just better to wait after you put an aid on rather than increase the aid, because oftentimes they need time to process and get their body together as well.
Okay. Now, if we're thinking about your proudest moment, is it riding that horse at Prix St. George, or is it other moments, or is it teaching moments, where your students do well? What do you think that you'd like to be remembered for almost, that you're able to achieve this, or is it just all those little things?
Yeah, I guess it's, I have my personal moments with my horses. So I've got, my thoroughbred, which we've been able to do great things with.
Yep.
And then I did buy myself a warm blood as well, and I managed to get him to Gatton in February 2017, where we won the 4-year-old young horse championship down there, and we won the first round of the Brisbane CDI in 2017, the 4-year-old class. So that was a really huge milestone moment. And one of the big things that I ticked off my bucket list with him was riding at SIAC. For the Sydney CDI. So that's always been a dream of mine, to ride down there. So to have a horse to do it on that, quality enough to go down is quite incredible. But I guess the proudest moments that I have are really my students every day. Like, you get kids, and it might not necessarily be that they're the best riders and they're going out and buying their own horses and, competing and doing really well like that. But more so it's the kids that have a little bit of a lack of confidence, or they have a tendency to quit. They don't have enough self-confidence to keep going with something when the horse, doesn't quite give it to them the first time they ask. I guess one of the biggest things that I'm proud of in instilling in my clients and my students is resilience. You know, resilience is such an important thing to have in the world that we live in, and horses are such a great teacher for resilience. So that's really proud. When I see kids starting to become more resilient and starting to become more determined but more empathetic at the same time within that, that makes me really proud as a teacher.
Okay, now thinking about you as the operations manager, and I know you've got your challenges as far as the weather goes and keeping your horses fit, happy, healthy, sound. Is there anything else that you think, if this changed, and money aside, because money's just always a problem, but challenges that you have as a riding school owner, okay? And this might be a challenge that has nothing to do with the tropics. It might be just a general business management thing that lots of riding school owners would have as, you know, to expand. They'd like to expand a bit more. And I think you've got enough acres there to not have, you know, a restriction on the property as an expansion. How would you like to expand? How would you like to keep the business going and, you know, push it along a little bit more? And what sort of challenge was stopping you?
Yep. So I guess the biggest challenge over the last 12 years, or I guess 11 years, we're kind of on the up a little bit at the moment. So when we started was the week that we opened was the week 2007 that equine influenza hit Australia.
No.
So we were actually in,
so
we had a really we had a really great opening week. So that was fantastic.
Yeah.
We have had, you know, quite a few struggles in the last 10 or 11 years to really break even and keep the business going because, you know, as you said, you know, money's always an issue. And we do it for the love of it. We don't do it for the money. But at the end of the day, we do have to cover our costs.
Sure.
So I guess my recommendation would be, first off, to try, before you expand, you need to consolidate. So making sure that you're using your staff to the best of their ability without overworking them and without making them cranky, but making sure that you consolidate your clients and consolidate your staff so that you're not wasting your time and energy. That's how we've managed to basically get 60 clients in over 3 days. Is we've really consolidated our groups into group lessons, so that we can provide as many people as possible with a fantastic, safe horse experience without overworking our horses, without overworking our staff, and basically keeping everyone in a high level of satisfaction with their lessons. Ideally, into the future, I would like to clone myself so I could have another instructor. At the moment, I'm the only full-time instructor here, so if I could get someone that could help me out and we could expand the number of lessons we have, that would be amazing. Because ideally, I would like to be able to broaden our business and take it to more clients and take it to schools. But at the moment, there's only so many hours in the day, and I can only work so many hours as well before running myself into the ground. So I guess, that would be my recommendation is try and consolidate, get things working really in a really tight, well-managed way before you look at expanding. But, you know, once you consolidate, expansion should be relatively easy.
Yeah, all right. I think that's really good advice too. You know, good advice for other people who may be teaching 7 days a week and wearing themselves out. I think if you can consolidate all your lessons into that 3 days a week, then you know that for 3 days a week you're teaching, you might be going, you know, 8 hours a day, but you know then that all the other
8 hours a day is a short day for me.
Okay, but all the other millions of things that you do need to do as a, you know, as a riding school owner or operations manager, you've got that time to do on the other days. Yeah. Now, do you teach mainly people on school horses? Do any bring their own horses?
Yep. So I have a number of clients that I teach on their own horses. So I do them on my days off from the riding school clients.
Yep.
So I do travel a fair bit. So I travel up to Mareeba, which is about 60 kilometres away, and then down to Gordonvale, which is about 35 kilometres away to do my other clients.
Yep.
And then some clients are even really nice to me and they bring their horses to our indoor, which is lovely.
Okay. So thinking about a common fault that you'd see with your riders, and you might go all the way up to Mareeba and they say, oh, can you do a workshop for us? Or we've got, a couple of extra students. What's a common thing that you see when you first get a group of students and you go, I just want to get this right first before we move on and do anything extra?
I guess, it goes back to the dressage training scale. I'm a massive, pusher of the dressage training scale. The biggest issue that I have with people with their own horses or even with our riding school clients is just to let the horse show you its rhythm. It's such a visual thing. We look at dressage as such a visual thing. The horse needs to be in this frame, or, it needs to be walking, trotting and cantering this way, or it needs to do a circle this way. But at the same time, it needs to be a feel, and you need to feel what the horse is offering you first before you try and make it something else. I guess that's the best way I try and get my riders to start to listen to their horses to start with. And then usually after that, the horses are a little bit more willing to be influenced or changed because you've listened to them in the first place rather than forced them or made them or tried to influence them too quickly.
If you're an equestrian coach or a horse riding instructor, or even if you aspire to be one, have a look at the free video series for horse riding instructors on the Horse Chats website. Go there now, have a look, horsechats.com.
All right, now what about your beginner riders, your complete beginners, have never been on a horse before, or worse is they've been on a horse, they've had a fall, and now, they've had nightmares for the last 5 years and now they're getting on a horse again, so they're pretty scared. What sort of exercises would you do with them? What do you do?
So usually, because we work a lot in group lessons, if I have those riders, what I tend to do is put them on my quietest pony and put them in the middle of my group. So usually what I'll do is I'll start off by teaching everyone the same way how to ask their ponies to move off, how to ask their pony to stop, how to ask their pony to turn, so that everyone has a basic understanding and no one feels as if they're being put down to, that we're just reiterating the basics for everyone. And then I try and give them confidence by getting them to understand that horses don't want to hurt them. If you've fallen off, it's usually just an accident. It's not because the horse wanted you to come off or made you come off. That we fall off a lot. I fall off a lot. I fall off a lot. So I guess, just trying to instill in them that it is a partnership and you're learning to communicate with the horse, and that sometimes we do fall off, but it's not because they want to hurt you. It's just an accident. And I think the more that kids tend to understand that, the more confident they get because they don't feel so out of control. They feel as if a connection is a little bit more a way to not be in control with the horse, but be in tune with the horse, I guess, rather than be a passenger.
Okay. No, that's good. All right, Erin, what are you looking forward to now? You've got some competitions coming up. You've got extra things with sort of the hot season's dying down a little bit.
So we've just started back our lessons for our first term of 2019. So looking forward to getting back into that. My aim this year for the riding school is to procure another couple of nice, quiet horses. So that's my biggest goal for the year, is to get some really good quality horses for our riders to learn on. And I guess just to see the development in all of our clients, whether they're beginners or they've been riding with me for a number of years, is just to keep seeing that development, even if it might be small, that they keep working towards a goal. And one of the biggest things I try to explain to people, because I have a lot of women that come back to riding after a long time, and they're usually very driven women and career women, and so they have a very cerebral understanding of what they need to do, but oftentimes they can't make their body cooperate. And I guess one of the big things that I like to explain to them is, if you're learning to play an instrument, as a child I learned to play piano, and my teacher used to tell me that I needed to practice for at least an hour every day of the week. And, if we have our own horses and we have busy lives and we're only riding 3 days a week, and if we're only cantering for 10 minutes of that ride, and there's something that you want to be proficient at in canter, it's going to take you a little while to become proficient if you're cantering for 10 minutes, 3 days a week. One of the things that a lot of people tend to do is they want to hurry, they want to be better, they want to nail it. But oftentimes it just takes time and just takes, being content to sit there and go through the hard stuff and slog it out until you do become better rather than trying to hurry it along. So I guess, that's one of the biggest things that I'm aiming for this year, is just to see all of my clients progress. It's a bit of a quieter competition year for me this year. I don't know if I've got anyone to cover my hours for teaching if I go away. So, just to focus on the business and the riding school this year.
With your horses, what do you do? Do you look for them? You get given them? Do you, go out and look, or, do you have a supplier? I'm just thinking a couple of quiet horses sounds easy, but, those quiet horses, they've got to be pretty special horses to work in a riding school and stay of the same temperament, of the same training. They've got to be pretty special anyway, but where do you find them?
Well, I guess it's the good thing about being in business 12 years now is that we do have quite a lot of people out there who have worked with us in the past and know what sort of a horse we're looking for. So at the moment, it's easier to find horses than it was in the beginning. 12 years ago, when we asked around and we were looking in horse deals and we were travelling south to find horses, we'd say we were setting up a riding school, and a lot of people would turn their noses up at that because they have this vision of riding school horses and trail riding horses being overworked and underfed.
Just horse hire type thing, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, we really pride ourselves on our horses and the care that we take of them. I guess a couple of our horses, we do have quite an old set of school horses with us at the moment. We've got 2 25-year-olds, a 28-year-old. We've got some really quite elderly ones, but they are working really hard still. So we've had them for a while. But recently we've actually got ourselves a lovely lady who has put us onto her thoroughbreds off the track, and she breaks them herself, and she does a really good job breaking them in. And so we've purchased 3 thoroughbreds off her at the moment, and they are honestly the best temperamented horses on the property.
Are they?
Yeah. So it's just, the main thing you're looking for is temperament. And I guess that the horses are honest, that they don't hide things from the rider, that, if they don't want to do something, they let the rider know, not in a dirty way, but, they do give feedback to the rider. They don't, I guess, hang on to it and become sour and, suck back and build up. Honest, quiet horses, your best assets in a riding school.
Okay. Now, if you're going to summarise or just sum up your philosophy with horses just into a sentence or two, how could you do that?
Oh, my goodness. That's a bit of a tricky one. I guess the biggest thing that I have learnt over the past 12 years working in this business and having a multitude of different horse personalities and horses myself is just to take your time. Don't rush. It's so important just to take your time, whether that's the time required in a half halt or the time required to teach a horse something new or the time required to, really consolidate your business and get everything working for you in a way that you need. take your time with that because it's really important.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good message for people. But it'll happen. You've just got to keep going. And I think earlier on, you talked about just teaching resilience, being determined, having empathy with your horse. And I think
that's
the
exactly
whole
right.
Take your time, don't rush is a good message. Good message to take away. Now, Erin, if people would like to contact you, if they're having a holiday in Cairns or they live in the area, what's the best way?
So they can give me a call. I think you can put a link up to our phone number, we've got our Facebook page.
Yes.
Crystal Cascades Horse Park. We're also on Instagram if you want to have a look at our funny cats and our funny horses that get around the place.
Yep.
But the best way is give me a ring or have a look on Facebook for us.
We'll do that. And we'll have those on your page at Horse Chats, which will be horsechats.com/Erin Flanagan, or just go to horsechats.com, search for Erin or search for Flanagan, and you'll find those details. Thanks very much, Erin. Good to talk to you. I'm glad that you're able to actually cancel those lessons today and we could sort of have a bit of a longer chat. And, thanks for your time. Thanks for your expertise, particularly that, busy riding school in the tropics and training dressage horses in the tropics and the care and the management that you've got there. I think it's been good education for everyone, so thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure.
Now, if you're still there, you probably know that I'm absolutely passionate about education within the horse industry. That's why I host this podcast. My other venture is Online Horse College. Have a look now at onlinehorsecollege.com and I'll see you over there.
Remember that our comments and instructions are general in nature and do not take into consideration your individual horses or your individual ability and circumstances. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please leave your comment below.